If you think you need a high-paying job to get rich, you're definitely going to be penniless forever. Money. Some people work very hard out of the desire to have it, while others might even get married because of it. In short, your father-in-law going broke is your problem, not your father's. Some people, on the other hand, are lucky from birth. So do we, the so-called middle-class, white-collar or blue-collar workers who deceive ourselves, really need a high-paying job to become wealthy? Does becoming truly rich have to be dangerous and complicated? Because the system I'm about to describe has made average income people rich time and again. In the book Millionaire Teacher, Andrew Hallam explains that this situation doesn't have to be as complicated as people think. And this system was used not by financial tycoons, but by ordinary people, like those with middle incomes. For example, there is a simple and low-risk plan, reducing expenses and starting to invest at a young age. You will realize how simple it can be to increase your personal wealth. This book explains how people with average incomes can manage their money systematically and become wealthy. You will find 3 important rules that should be taught in schools within this video. This title might include parts where many people say, "Come on, that's not possible, Mr. Grant." And if you're thinking, "This won't work for me," that's exactly why you need to watch it and understand the system. But I'll respond with a famous and ironic quote from a wealthy person: "Relax, champ." The math is in front of you. You can filter it through your own logic. If you want to become wealthy, you have to cut unnecessary expenses. Earning more money doesn't make you rich, but spending more will make you poorer. Having wealth is not only about how much you earn, it's more about how much you spend and how much you can save. Even if it's just 1% of your income, investing in yourself first is crucial. I want to idealize the topic a bit more in line with the book's theme. Let's look at this statement from Warren Buffett. People often say, "I'm greedy, stingy, that I don't eat or spend," but that's completely wrong. I'm against unnecessary spending. I've always said that. For example, I have many cars. I could drive a sports car or a Mercedes. I could drive the best, but I choose not to because it's not right for me. Instead, you build a school, you do charity work, you create a foundation, you do something beneficial for your country. Believe me, I would never hesitate to spend 10 or 20 million on that, but I'll make a fuss over $20. If you want to build your own wealth empire, you have to start investing. But to invest, you first need savings, cutting unnecessary expenses. For example, you immediately buy an air fryer for your kitchen. Wait a second, it's just a fryer, and you're struggling to pay your credit card. If you're eating out 3 to 4 times a week, it would benefit you greatly to listen to Warren Buffett's perspective. If you want to transition from being an average person to a wealthy one, you shouldn't spend like an average person. You need to spend much less. The book already mentions that this is a rule practiced by many wealthy individuals in America. I won't talk about Buffett's car or Mark Zuckerberg's lifestyle, but research shows that the average millionaire doesn't rush to buy a Ferrari or Porsche. They usually drive a Toyota. Because truly wealthy people don't try to appear wealthy. One trap we often fall into as our income increases is increasing our expenses. Let me finally buy that air fryer I've had in my favorites for weeks. Or, that coffee machine looks amazing, and it's on sale. These thoughts might be running through your mind. And then Black Friday starts, and you can't resist ordering that robot vacuum either. It's not big mistakes that leave you in poverty. It's small, daily spending habits. Before you know it, you've bought both. Of course, you may deserve these things, and I'm not saying you should never buy them, but here's the point. If you're complaining, "Why doesn't my child have a flute?" then your scenario is contradictory. I think it's clearer now. Even if it's not, that robot vacuum sitting in your cart might wait for a few weeks, or months. Most likely, being rich and being wealthy are not the same thing. What you own is not what you spend, but what you don't spend. Wealthy people are often labeled as frugal or stingy, but that's misleading. They are wealthy because they don't throw money around and can invest more. Even though every penny is valuable, for some of us, even access to housing and food has become a luxury. So, what should we do? You need to develop a skill that you can market. If you're rolling in money today, it's not because of a lack of opportunity. It's because you lack a marketable skill. If you want quicker returns, it should ideally be an internet-based skill. Some might say this is difficult, but it's entirely possible. If you don't take action, you convince yourself it's impossible. Your mind plays tricks to keep you in your comfort zone or to consume you. All you need is awareness and not allowing your mind to play these games. If you're not willing to face challenges, there's no point in complaining about your situation. No one will come to lift you up. If you want to stand, you must rise yourself. As the saying goes, he who falls must get up himself. You must stand again and build your wealth by adapting to the system. Although the book explains this through compound interest, I prefer calling it compound returns because it's not just about interest. Even those sensitive about interest can interpret this more broadly. You cut your expenses. You stop eating out every night. You give up unnecessary weekend getaways. Slowly, your money starts accumulating in the bank. But spending less is only the first step. To benefit from compound returns, you must start investing as early as possible and build a system. And at the end of this video, I'll talk about 3 rules that can change your financial future from start to finish. For example, you start with $1,000. Rich people don't waste time chasing money. They use money for their own time. If you earn a 10% return annually, after 1 year, you'll have $1,100. The key is reinvesting that $100 so that the next year you earn returns on $1,100, reaching $1,210, and continuing this habit for years. With simple math, a 120% return can double your money in 4 years and triple it in 6 years. Since time is the key factor in compound returns, the best strategy is to start investing as early as possible. Morgan Housel explains the relationship between money and time very memorably in The Psychology of Money. One of Warren Buffett's greatest advantages was starting to invest at age 11. In investing, your most important advantage isn't intelligence, it's time. If he had started in his 30s and retired in his 60s, very few people would know his name. His skill is investing, but his real secret is time. No matter your age, you must start investing now. As an old Chinese proverb says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. This explains everything. Jeremy Siegel, a finance professor at the University of Pennsylvania, conducted an interesting study. He tried to explain the biggest stock market movements since 1885. Despite analyzing historical data and reports, he couldn't fully explain market fluctuations. Markets sometimes rise, sometimes fall, but the exact reasons remain unclear. If a finance professor can't explain market movements with years of data, your chances of predicting trends with a few lines are nearly zero. That's why you must resist the urge to time the market. Psychologically, we like to think highly of ourselves. I'm the best analyst, the best investor. Especially common among men. Along with this comes the belief that you can beat the market. Even if history doesn't repeat exactly, it often rhymes. Bubbles always burst, and investors lose millions. Many thought they could exit at the right time, but only a small minority succeeded. Trying to time the market is a foolish game. Most people who think they've figured out the market and try to exploit it are disappointed by the market. John Bogle, named one of the greatest investors of the 20th century by Fortune, said, After spending 50 years in this field, I have never met anyone who could consistently and successfully time the market. Gambling with what we think we know is not logical. Do yourself a favor. Stop trying to beat the market and learn from others' mistakes. Reduce your expenses. Turn your savings into investments as soon as possible. Invest in things you wouldn't mind holding, even if markets were closed for 10 years. Things society will still need a decade from now. This strategy lets you sleep peacefully at night. Finally, balancing money and time is the most important thing. Studies show that people nearing the end of their lives rarely say, "I wish I had worked more when I was young." That's why working smarter, not just harder, is essential. At its core, everything comes down to habits. Ibn Khaldun explained this by saying, "Man is the child of his habits." So don't worry about how to make your habits more permanent, because on this channel, we will build this wealth system together. Becoming rich isn't impossible. Disciplined people win, others continue to live with their excuses. And either you start today, or you'll regret not starting in the future.